This isn't a singing
Do.
podcast, regardless of what you did in our last episode.
I'm just trying to become as good a singer as Sarah Bareilles. I think if I start now, maybe I'll get there when I die.
Yeah, maybe when you die. Although, unfortunately, I think your diaphragm just gets weaker with age.
I know.
So the odds may
It's
be
too late
stacked
for me.
against you.
It's
Might
too
be
late
too
for me.
late. It's true.
Yeah.
Although I actually saw an ad for vocal lessons, and I had a moment where I was like, I have disposable income and
Why
could
wouldn't you
take
do
voice
that?
lessons.
Why
Yeah,
wouldn't you do that?
I don't know. Time?
Time is an illusion. Do it. You should do it. I think you should do it. I'm
Yeah.
your friend and I'm telling you should do it.
Okay, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, you should do it.
It's not been that long.
You like singing.
I will do it. I actually will. Have you heard of Nutrafol?
The skincare stuff?
It's like a supplement for hair growth.
Yeah.
I started taking it and my hair is out of control. Like,
Your
this
hair is so long.
not an advertisement. I like actually have stopped taking it because I'm like, I can't keep up with the amount of hair growth that I am seeing. I didn't really have an issue. I was more taking it because I was like trying to combat, like, I've always had like a widow's peak type hairline, and I just wanted like these areas to fill in a little bit. And now I'm just like, it's too long. I can't keep up with it.
And make sure it's only the hair on your head that's growing.
They don't. They don't.
Okay. So it's all hair.
It's all hair.
It's
Yeah.
all
You
hair.
can't target specific hair follicles. That
Okay.
doesn't work. Yeah. All of your hair grows faster. But my eyebrows do grow faster as well, which I like. I appreciate.
I am actually
Good
trying to
eyebrow
grow
growth.
my eyebrows out because I see them on this podcast and I'm like, I think a couple months ago they were too thin. I think they filled out okay now, but I'm like,
I think they actually look really thick today. Like
thank you. That's because
thick-
I've stopped plucking them entirely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
think do you remember that one week when we recorded and I had just gotten my eyebrows done and they were like incredibly thick looking?
I didn't say anything about it, but I was like, she definitely got her eyebrows done.
Yeah, they were really thick looking because my eyebrows are like blondish. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's odd. Like, they clearly are fading into my face.
You're looking very Galadriel coated at the moment. You're just looking very elven and very blonde. It's very lovely. You look great.
So one thing about having big ears is I'm realizing I just look sort of fairy-like when I pull my hair half up.
all the time. Even though Galadriel's an elf, they're basically the same.
Well, only when I pull. I don't usually have my hair so that you can see my ears. I feel like the other thing.
I do feel like Feyre has your hair color.
I do think
your hair color for Feyre.
It's just like if you're natural blonde, but then you grow up is Feyre's hair color, in my opinion. If you're not Nordic, like I feel like all natural blondes when they're young, if they're not Scandinavian, grow into this like golden brown, like this, light brown hair. Yeah. Yeah.
That's good. These are good things.
Too bad I don't have blue eyes.
You have green eyes. Yeah,
I know,
but you're not Feyre. Yeah.
I'm like Tamlin. Bummer.
Oh my God. I have to tell you how fucked up my brain is.
What?
I was going for a run. I was going for a run with Derek yesterday morning.
Yeah.
We were running behind this guy, and he had long blonde hair.
No.
Long blonde hair pulled up into a bun. And my brain for a second went, oh, there's Tamlin. And then I was like, no.
This is reality.
That's not Tamlin.
And that is not Tamlin. Yeah. Yep. But it's weird. I like on occasion I just have like a moment of absolute insanity. Like I saw someone bleeding at one point and I was like, they're not Venin. I need to relax.
Oh, and this is when people are like, maybe you guys take this stuff too seriously.
Wholly possible. Yeah.
I told you we did get a comment. Someone commented on one of our Empyrean clips and they're like, this is great, but it's not that serious in all caps. And I responded, don't worry, we're having fun in all caps.
We are having fun.
Guys, we're having fun. If this actually stressed us out, we would just stop doing it. There's no point to do it.
Yeah. And maybe like for avoidance of doubt, like absolutely no disrespect for anybody who does do this for a living, but like we do not. So like we do think about majority of the time not this.
Other things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which makes this fun.
We're balanced.
Yeah. Because obviously if we did this full time, my brain would break, given how much I think about it. Like given how much my brain's already breaking.
Well, just like last episode is a perfect example. Like if I thought about this full time, like no one would be able to follow my thoughts. Like it would go too far. Same with you, I think.
Oh yeah.
Probably worse.
Probably worse. I know you had some real Abby theories last episode. I was like, fuck yes, Ron. This is amazing.
That was the most Leo comment ever. You had some real theories that reminded me of mine. And so I thought it was amazing.
Yep. I thought you did great. I thought it was great.
Leo,
I thought it was a
like
great
Leo the
episode.
best.
I can't help who I am. No, we're always trying to be better. All right. Anyway, hi, I'm Abby. I'm a Leo.
Hi, I'm Ronnie. I'm an Aries. Did you know, actually? Well, this is an ACOTAR episode, but we never shared with the group that we have the same zodiac signs as Violet and Z.
Yeah, yeah. Ronnie texted me that. I forget what it was, but I
Yeah,
did not follow
I
what you were
said,
saying.
did you realize that we had Violet and Zayden's zodiac signs? And you were like, I don't care if we know Violet and Zayden's zodiac signs. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, you and me
That's what
have
it was.
them.
I thought you were saying we know when Violet and Zayden's birthdays are, so we know what their zodiac sign was. I was like, oh,
No. You and I have their zodiac signs.
Yeah. No, I'm Zayden. You're Violet. And that makes sense with our colorings as well. Oh, no, I thought
The reverse. The reverse. Zayden's an Aries.
Zayden's in March. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, never
And
mind.
Violet is. There was some. We'll have to go back to our Discord for some of that. There was some great commentary on. I will get into it here. It was great.
On
though.
our signs? Or on theirs? Oh, no.
On
There
theirs.
was some, yes.
Yeah,
Oh
on
my
their
God.
signs.
If you are into astrology and romantasy, our Discord is your corner of the internet. Let me
It
tell you.
is. Yeah. Yeah. And in some days it's not my corner of the internet because I don't know enough about the astrology stuff, but
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I'm here for it regardless.
Yeah. All right. We love you, our Discord. All right.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm Ronnie and I'm an Aries.
I'm happy and I'm a Leo. This is Dragons in the Details, where we pick apart our favorite fantasy series over the course of an undetermined number of episodes. Even though we've been talking about the Empyrean exclusively, we are doing ACOTAR this season. ACOTAR the series, not ACOTAR the book. Obviously, ACOTAR the book is included with ACOTAR the series, but we were talking about all 5 books. Other Maasverse spoilers, we will announce if we are getting into them. So we are doing most of our episode dedicated to ACOTAR only. There is a Maasverse section at the end, and we will announce if there's going to be a Maasverse spoiler. If you are new to this fandom, Maasverse refers to all 3 of Sarah J. Maas's series, so that is ACOTAR, Crescent City, and Throne of Glass. If you have not finished all of those books, same thing. If you just read the first book of Throne of Glass and you're like, I'm good, no, get the fuck out of here. Sorry, come back when you're done. You have to have read all of those books in order to continue with the Maasverse section, or you're going to get spoiled. Also, because of who we are as people, these podcasts are rated R. Do not listen to them with your children. Each week, we are diving into a specific topic in depth. This week, we are digging into Feyre's trials under the mountain. So I mentioned last episode, we're doing kind of modules. We wrapped up our Spring Court module last episode with our Lucien deep dive, which is excellent. You should definitely listen to it if you haven't yet. And we are now starting our Under the Mountain module.
I just want to tell you guys that in real time, we've not even edited or listened to that episode yet.
I don't care.
Just finished it.
It's so good.
It's the best one we've ever done. I don't think it's the best one we've ever done.
It's the best one we've ever done, but it's good. I think, if I'm being honest, History Part 2 of the Empyrean, I think is probably the best episode we've ever done.
Interesting.
I think we both had great theories on that one.
I don't even remember that one. I'll have to go back and listen to it.
That's a plug for our History Part 2 on the Empyrean episode.
Yeah.
Yes, so this week we were talking about Feyre's trials under the mountain, so that is beginning our Under the Mountain module. And as you guys can tell, we're kind of starting with the stuff we start in book 1. We're going to kind of abandon that very quickly, but just this is how the series starts, so this is how we're starting our podcast. All right, Ron, and did I miss anything? Oh, we come with receipts. So if you're skeptical, we have quotes, you can follow along. We always come with, we're big on providing actual evidence for our quotes, unlike some reels that I see on social media sometimes. Anyway, Ron, announcements.
You're so mad about that. Yes. Announcements. So for the first few episodes of the season, we're just talking through kind of how we're structuring things. As Abby mentioned, we've got ACOTAR spoilers for the entire episode. You must have read all 5 published books in order to listen to the entirety of this episode. But at a certain point, and we're pushing it all the way to the end, we will cover some kind of Maasverse spoilers. And so for those who are new to the world of Sarah J. Maas, Maasverse is a term that's used to describe spoilers for all 3 series that Sarah J. Maas has written and published: Throne of Glass, Crescent City, and A Court of Thorns and Roses. So the bulk of this episode, if you've read all 5 A Court of Thorns and Roses books that are published, you are safe. If you have not, please leave. And when we say Maasverse, we will be here for you. That's the beautiful thing about podcasts. They're forever. And then as far as how we're structuring the season, we're still doing deep dives. So if you were with us through the Empyrean series, we're diving into specific topics in depth, as Abby mentioned. But when it comes to exactly what those topics are, we are moving more towards specific events or things, or as Abby mentioned, modules, rather than like a character deep dive that might take 2 to 3 parts. For example, if we did a Rhys deep dive and we focused on the entire world of Rhys, that would take ages. So we might do a Rhys, well, we will do a Rhys kind of family deep dive and then cover Rhys kind of separately. So you'll see that theme as we release our episodes. Just a heads up, nothing for you guys to worry about.
We're just trying to have open and honest communication with our podcast listeners.
Indeed. Yep. All right. Back to you.
All right. Corrections, omissions, social media shout outs. Did you have any? I have one.
I had a social media shout out. It's truly just a shout out because I think this person has a lot of followers, to be clear. So like they do not need me to shout them out, but I see very few like theory focused ACOTAR accounts. Like Empyrean had a whole host of them. Like people were so caught up in like the different theories and the universe and all of that. But I wanted to give a shout out to this book talker that I'm seeing more of, and I really, really appreciate. Her name is Katie Quinlan. If you're out there, if you're seeing this, your theories on ACOTAR and Sarah J. Maas's works in general are some of my favorite. Her videos always get me thinking about my own theories, whether they hold. She's a really great follow. Again, she doesn't need my shout out because she has quite a few already. But if you're here and you haven't checked her out, I don't know how you're listening to us and you haven't seen her. So I really recommend doing so. She's great.
I'll have to
She's
check
great.
her out. I do try to avoid other theories because I don't want them to influence mine. But if they're good and if they make them better, then
yeah, I found her because I don't know, for social media, you guys probably know, like you have to do like some work on the algorithm yourself and like interact with people and like things and everything so that you can kind of find the right corner of the internet. And I found her that way. And yeah, she really makes me think. So I appreciate her.
Hopefully we make people think. I don't know.
That's the goal.
That's the hope. Yeah. I had one correction, omission, social media shout out. So we were talking about Tamlin's ability to turn other people into other things, right? So he can turn his sentries into wolves. We said we hadn't really seen that power anywhere else. Amarantha can also do this. So Amarantha turns the adder into Tamlin in Feyre's third trial, which I remembered when we were doing the prep for this episode. Not clear if it's a glamour or if she actually, well, you're giving me the look that I don't really know what I'm talking about. So maybe I'm wrong.
I'm just curious how we know it's specifically Amarantha.
Who did it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, she
we'll get to this.
All right, great. Fuck yeah. Love it. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful.
But we did see that. That's true.
Okay, we think we saw Amarantha turn the adder into Tamlin. Maybe we didn't.
Yep. Okay. All right.
All right. You want to ask me the fun question?
Yeah, right. I have to ask you the fun question. All right. We're starting off with the fun question. Abby, how did you feel about the trials?
I've said this before on this podcast. I think these trials make the first book. Basically kind of set the whole tone for the series, which I love. I think they're so great in how dark they get. I also think it's fun that they each kind of test a part of Feyre's human life and also kind of turn the tropes of these types of trials in their head. So, right, with the Middengard Wyrm, with the Labyrinth, typically the trope for that is like the Minotaur in Greek mythology, and we get Theseus who slays the Minotaur by, well, sorry, here's some Greek mythology for you for context. But basically, there's a king, I don't remember his name. He builds a labyrinth to trap a Minotaur, which is a creature with the head of a bull, legs of a man. I didn't do that much research on this, guys. Sorry if I'm wrong about this. But basically, there's a monster trapped in the labyrinth, which is what we get with Amarantha here, right? The person who slays the Minotaur is named Theseus, and he fights the Minotaur head on, right? So, like, he just goes hand-to-hand combat, like, he, like, slays him with his sword. It's, like, kind of your typical Greek hero story. And that is, like, not what Feyre does, right? Feyre has to play to her strengths, which I think is really interesting. So it's like we have this trope, but we're going to flip it on its head and make it work for our character. We'll get back to Theseus because there's more interesting stuff with Theseus we can talk about in the third trial. The riddle, this is very classic. You expect her to be able to solve the riddle, right? Like this is a classic, oh, our girl is smart, our heroine is smart, she's going to be able to solve the riddle. She can't fucking read.
And riddles are also not her strong suit, even when she can't read.
Yeah, riddles, right. She's given a riddle that seems very obvious and she can't figure it out, right? So like, Feyre, we love you. Maybe you're not.
You're not book smart.
Only 19. You're only 19. Okay. It's okay. You're not book smart. It's okay. And then obviously with the 3 Fae at the end, we talked about this in our first episode. You do not think she's going to kill these Fae, right? What you think is going to happen that she's going to refuse, and Amarantha will see her refusal as proof that she actually could care for Fae, right? That's the trope you expect to be playing out here, right? She refuses to kill Fae, and Amarantha is like, okay, you really do love Fae. I believe you now. You won't kill them.
Yeah.
Nope. not what happens, right?
She
So
just
it's just,
does. Yeah.
it's fun. And it's like, I also put, it's like, it's a Fae retelling of the trolley problem, that trial, right? It's like, how many Fae are worth killing to save other Fae,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's fun in that she takes these tropes that we know, but she doesn't go in the direction that you think she's going to go with them.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan. I'm a fan of the trials. How did you feel about the trials?
I mean, I love the trials. I think they like woke up the first book for me. I was like, can we get more than 4 characters in this novel, please? I love them. I loved that they were said to be designed to test Feyre's love, but they were obviously designed for much, much more than that. I always love a little like, oh, it's going to be this, but it's actually that moment. I loved that there were some subtle pieces of them that I don't think you really pick up unless you spend time thinking about them and talking about them. Like there was one task every full moon, like phases of the moon. That's interesting and ties back in later. I
I
mean,
have things to talk about with that.
for sure. If she, I mean, just the context of the trials overall, right? If she completes all 3 tasks, she gets Tamlin. So this is all in theory to get Tamlin and Tamlin's curse broken, and all of his court can leave under the mountain and remain free forever. I just find it interesting too that like every Fae in that room is rooting for them, even though like only Tamlin's court is really set to benefit from this. Now they know that Tamlin,
Everyone. I
it's
thought she
all of
was
his
going to
court.
free everyone.
It's all of his court and Tamlin. But if Tamlin gets his power back, then everyone knows that if
He will kill
Tamlin at full
Amarantha.
power will kill Amarantha. And Rhys has known this the entire time as well. He's like, that is my bet, is that Tamlin gets really mad, and then Tamlin is freed, and then Tamlin kills Amarantha, and then we're all free. I love the riddle. Like, love a riddle. Love a riddle that breaks it all, right? Don't love that Feyre can't solve it. But yeah, they were the best part of the book, hand down. And I also think that they served as a really important point of the plot line that we wouldn't have gotten necessarily otherwise, in that Feyre as a human was very impressive, right? She does all of this as a human. She did not need to be high Fae to take a literal queen of the Fae down. And so I think that to me, all of this fandom stuff about like being overpowered and being this female protagonist just got all of this power and now she's all powerful. Feyre was powerful before that. And I really like that we're given these trials as kind of an example of that. I enjoyed them for that reason.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
I think the trials are great. And I think the trials are kind of like make or break for you as a reader too. Like if you like the trials, you're going to like the series. If you don't like the trials, probably not for you.
Yeah. And one thing about Sarah J. Maas is she loves a trial. Loves a trial.
I know, loves a trial. She might not call it a trial, but she loves it.
She does. Cool.
I think what's fun too, I never picked up on this. Amarantha doesn't call them trials. She calls them tasks.
Yeah.
Which always brings Hercules to mind.
Yeah. 3 tasks.
All right. Deep dive time.
Deep dive time.
Oh, I forgot to shout this out. Our deep dive music is by Schwoodley. You should check them out on Spotify if you like our deep dive music. This is real music made by a real person. This is not AI generated. It's a real artist. His name is Schwoodley. He's awesome. He's my boyfriend. You should check him out. At some point, I'm going to stop telling people he's my boyfriend so that they don't think this is just what's the word? Nepotism? It's not. I mean, not really nepotism, but you know.
Not nepotism at all by any definition.
Well,
also this podcast is rated R.
Oh yeah, and this podcast is rated R. All right. Ronnie, why did Amarantha recognize and care about Feyre's name?
Yes. Okay. You guys know me. Context is important. So Feyre gives up her name to save Lucien from Rhysand's wrath. So Amarantha asks Feyre what her name is, weirdly late, in my opinion. Like, they fully meet, then Feyre is taken away, then Feyre is brought back, and then Amarantha wants to know her name. We know that Rhysand gave Amarantha a false name because Feyre gave Rhysand a false name and he was protecting her. And she gave the name Claire Better. Claire Better was then murdered. So Feyre is protective of her name. But Lucien, Amarantha basically has Rhys hold Lucien's mind and is about to shatter it. I don't think he really would have shattered it, but Feyre gives up her name in exchange. She's like, I'm Feyre. My name is Feyre. And Amarantha recognizes Feyre's name. And I really like the direct quote here, actually. She says, Feyre, testing her name, the taste of the 2 syllables on her tongue. And Amarantha says, an old name from our earlier dialects. And then she asks no further questions. She doesn't ask for a last name. She doesn't ask for anything else. She just processes Feyre, and that's it. says is from our earlier dialects. So we know of 2 old languages in this series. One is the Lashon HaKodesh, which is the Holy Tongue, which we learn from Amren as she looks at the Book of Breathings and recognizes it. We should talk about this later because this is the actual Hebrew term for the Holy Tongue and generally represents biblical Hebrew. Like that is just not, that's not ACOTAR world. That's like our world.
Interesting.
So
I had
Amren
no
points
idea.
this out. And then the second language that we know in this series is the language of the ancient Fae. And so this is the language that the Kelpie spoke to Nesta in the middle, the one that Rhys recognized and was able to kind of pick up every second word, and Amren was able to very easily translate. And so of these, like these 2 languages are interesting to think about. I tend to lean towards, like I think probably Amarantha was talking about the second one because it's specifically called our earlier dialect. So the language of the ancient Fae would make more sense in this context. So in Hebrew, Feyre means fairy. So not necessarily ruling out that the Holy Tongue could be in play here, but I think Feyre could mean fairy, like regardless of whether it's in the ancient language of the Fae or whether it's in Hebrew. And I think Amarantha processing that, like she's looking at a human who is named, 1, from an ancient dialect of Fae. So like that's interesting. And 2, if it means fairy, like she's a human. So like that is interesting. I think it tells us that Amarantha is quite old and likely knows about the languages of the ancient Fae. Like, how else would she know about these? She's from Hybern. We know very little about what has happened in Hybern, what was preserved, what their education is like. We only know that she's a general from Hybern. I have another, like, sleeper hypothesis that's, like, probably not true.
I
But
have a
also,
sleeper hypothesis, so I want to see if we went to the same place.
I
This is
think
a crazy theory for me. Keep going.
I don't know how crazy mine is. I think it's
Okay.
probably just wrong. But I think Feyre could also mean liar in ancient Fae.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly could, couldn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, I think
Wait,
Amarantha.
do you want to tell people why we?
Okay, sure. So Feyre becomes High Fae, right? When she accomplishes all of these trials and dies and is brought back to life. And then she has to go through a series of finding made things. And one thing in particular is the Book of Breathings, which is keyed to the blood of another High Lord. It's not only in this situation, but these made things call her liar. They
Feyre is
call her
called
liar
liar
every time.
constantly
Yeah.
by made things. Yeah.
By made things, and we think these made things, I think these made things are speaking to her in the language of the ancient Fae, and she can just understand them because she is also made. So I think Feyre could mean liar.
Fascinating. I didn't think that at all, but I really like it. It is
Okay.
also fascinating to me that in our world, in the real world, there is an ancient Hebrew word for fairy. That's wild.
Feya.
Like,
Yeah. It's not the
why?
same spelling as Feyre. FeyA is the word in Hebrew, but it's also interesting that Hebrew is literally just like in this book.
Yeah, that is really interesting. Okay. So the reason I went with this, the only one piece of context I'll add that you didn't mention was it's not just that Amarantha is like, what's your name? She says, it's literally keeping me up at night. I can't sleep. And I realize it's because I don't know what your name is. She might be lying.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
good point.
kind of a crazy thing to say to a human. I went in a totally crazy direction with this. I'm going to say this right now, but it's not my precog theory. In ACOWAR, chapter 23 with the Bone Carver, Feyre and Cassian have gone to the Bone Carver to ask him to fight with them for the King of Hybern. So they're talking to the Bone Carver. The Carver is tracing 3 overlapping interlocked circles in the dirt, and he tells them about his siblings and about the quote-unquote long ago Fae warrior who tricked Striga into diminishing her power and becoming confined to the middle, Koschei too, confined and bound by his little lake on the continent, all before Prythian, before the land was carved up and any High Lord was crowned. So we have an ancient Fae warrior who imprisoned Striga and Koschei, right? So ancient Fae, and we have Amarantha saying that Feyre is an old name from our earlier dialects.
Mm-hmm.
Then he tells Feyre, her bloodline is long gone now, though a trace still runs through some human lines. No one remembers her name, but I do. She would have been my salvation had I not made my choice long before she walked the earth. So I think that her name was Feyre, and I think that the Archerons are probably her descendants. We will talk about that in another episode. But I thought it was interesting, too. The Bone Carver says, she would have been my salvation. Rhys famously says to Feyre, you're my salvation, right? We're using the same word. We know Feyre is an old name. We know this warrior lived before Prythian existed. Is this the name that Amarantha recognizes? Kind of out of left field, but That's where my brain went.
I like it.
Right.
And I totally
So,
like that bloodline running through human lines. No way it's not the Archerons.
has to be
So
the Archerons. There's no other
no way.
fucking
There's no way
humans
that
we
all
know.
3 of these women have crazy gifts and there is no
Yeah.
bloodline related to them. So spoiler maybe for our next episode.
Has to be
There's
the
stuff in
Archerons.
the Archerons.
Yeah. I'm very excited to dig into it. Yeah. But I like the idea that Feyre also means liar. Because that was also a big question I had. Like, everything calls her a liar. It can't just be because she pretends to be Tarkin. That's not interesting enough, right? Like, she's constantly called liar by the Book of Breathings. There is something else. I can't remember what it is. But, like, yeah, she's, like, constantly being called liar. Okay. Very intriguing.
Okay.
Anything else on that one?
Nothing from me. Nope. What did Alys mean when she said, "Don't trust your senses"?
So I didn't have like a hardcore theory on this one, but I thought it was interesting. Alys says, "Don't trust your senses," and then there is literally it doesn't really come up except for that one point when Amarantha turns the adder into Tamlin. Other than that, it's like we're led to believe that what Feyre is seeing is real, what she's feeling is real. Like this is all really happening. Like she kind of can trust her senses, except with Rhys, right? Like everything that she is being told about Rhys is basically a lie, right? Like Rhys is
A
pretending
lie
to be
of Rhys's
terrible.
own making. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. But it made me think that this is, first of all, Sarah J. Maas telling us, hey, I'm about to give you a long scene here, and you should not believe it's not playing out the way you think it's playing out, right? Like it is her talking to the reader saying, pay attention here because this is not what it seems like it is. And I'm going to kind of flip it on its head in the next book. And we know that that's basically what she was planning to do, right? She knew from the get-go that Rhys was really her love interest, not Tamlin.
Yeah.
And it also made me think of Alys talking about how she knew servants under the mountain and she said Rhysand never mistreated her servants, right? So like, did Alys on some level always know that Feyre and Tamlin were in it? You know, that like, and I know Alys says to Feyre, like, you could have broken the curse, but like, it's also kind of, she tells her not to go. She's like, don't do this, don't go. It's not you. You're not the one. I don't have a long answer for that one, but that line always comes back to me. Don't trust your senses, because this whole first book is basically don't trust your senses, right? It's not playing out the way that you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Alys definitely has always known, and I think it goes way back into Rhysand's past, because Alys's nephews went to Summer, I think, and Rhysand has this like
from Summer. Or no, they're Summer Court originally, right?
Oh yeah, maybe they were Summer Court originally. So I think she knows Rhysand from when he was a younger, more obviously better person. And so I think she's always known. Like that even comes back when Feyre is like back and looks more well than she did before she had left. So I think Alys has always known because Rhys has that connection to the Summer Court. What I thought was interesting about this part was that Alys had 3 rules. Don't drink the wine, don't make deals with anyone unless your life depends on it, and don't trust a soul in there. And Feyre breaks every single one of those rules handily. She drinks the wine, obviously, like looks forward to the wine at a certain point. She makes deals with Amarantha as soon as she arrives and Rhys. Feyre. I mean, I know why. Like she would have died otherwise. But Alys even says, like, don't make deals with anyone unless your life depends on it. And even then, you should think about whether it will do more harm than good. And she trusts Rhysand.
She does trust Rhys, yeah.
Yeah, she like eventually has to. And so I agree with you that I don't know that we like have much this amounts to. I think the simplest explanation here is Alys definitely knows that with Rhys there and with Tamlin there, Rhys is a Daemati, a known Daemati, and Tamlin can shapeshift him and others into anything. And so, like, yeah, you probably shouldn't trust your senses headed into a situation like that where anyone could be anything, whether they were physically made to be something else or whether your mind is being tricked. And she was ultimately deceived by her own senses. She says so outright. Deceived by my own senses, my soul ripping further from me, I turned back to Tamlin. There was only guilt and sorrow in his eyes. I think I agree with you that this is more of a Sarah J. Maas like telling us, hey, pay attention to what's going on under the mountain. Like it's not what it seems. And we'll talk about it more in the 3rd trial, but I think it's interesting to think about, right? Like whether everything that Feyre did see under the mountain was as it appeared. I don't know.
I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by what you're about to tell me.
It belongs in the 3rd trial, though, so we should move on. Okay.
Feyre's first trial, Ron. Let's talk about it.
Okay. So I am going to dive into the first trial, and then let's just riff throughout. Does that work?
Yeah, for our listeners, we didn't really ask ourselves questions for this one. We were just like, okay, let's just talk about each trial. So we don't have as structured questions, but I think it's going to be good.
I mean, the trials, even just talking about them, are sick. So I have no problem with the structure. The first trial was a labyrinth, which, if you're new here, is Abby's favorite form of trial. A
Not a
labyrinth of
labyrinth.
tunnels carved into mud and the Middengard Wyrm. And it was said by Amarantha to be designed to test her ability to hunt. She says, Rhysand tells me you're a huntress. Hunt this. And so there are 20-foot deep trenches, slick with mud, that ran in a maze that could be viewed by the audience, but also had these pits and holes that led to these other underground tunnels. And so we learn later that there are underground tunnels that come from the middle into under the mountain. Those are probably these same tunnels. There's lots of underground tunnels here in this trial. The Middengard Wyrm is this blind, horrific worm with basically an entire cross section of layered rings of teeth, and that's kind of its head. And so Feyre is faced with hunt this, and the way that I interpreted that as the beginning of the trial is like, you die or it dies. There is no there is no end to this trial unless one of you is dead.
This is not a maze. This is not a get out.
Yeah, it's not an escape.
You have to kill this.
Yeah, exactly. So she uses her surroundings well. She is a good huntress. She kept her family alive for many years. And the parts that I was impressed by, before we get into how she actually solves it, is like she was even looking to the audience to understand kind of like where the worm went and what they were looking at, and uses context clues to deduce that the worm is blind. No one tells her this. Things heat up when she falls into a pit that is full of bones. It is literally a death trap. Human, Fae, animal bodies decaying, decomposing around her. It makes you wonder, in my opinion. Like, at this point, I was like, is she the first person to undergo this trial? I think she is probably not. So Feyre then has to literally use the bones to escape the pit, plunges them into the mud to basically create these footholds for her to escape this death trap. And then she uses those bones to create a trap for the worm, using those bones as lances to snare it. She rolls herself in mud to coat her scent. One thing that I loved about this part is, in this trial, Feyre is being referred to primarily as an it by the audience. They're like, what's it doing? What's it doing? Rhys already refers to her as a her. I just love that part of this. Like, he says she's making a trap. Everyone's like, what's it doing? What's it doing?
It didn't even occur to me.
Already thinks of her as someone who will matter. Like a human being. So she creates a trap for this worm. She rolls herself in mud to coat her scent. And then she cuts herself and is waiting. And Lucien saves her ass by warning her with 3 words screamed at her from the audience: to your left. Feyre assumed that Lucien swore an oath to Tamlin to protect her. He doesn't confirm or deny this. I don't think that's true. I think Lucien just saves her.
Yeah. That would be wild. I don't even remember her saying that.
It's after Lucien couldn't come to heal her afterwards because he was so brutalized by what Tamlin was forced to do to him for saving her like this. And he gets mad at her for making a bargain with Rhys. And she says, it's done with. You needn't hold to whatever oath you swore to Tamlin to protect me, or feel like you owe me anything for saving you from Amarantha. I would have done it. I would have done it anyways, basically. So Lucien saves her life. Like, Lucien stops this from ending very early on, and we learned that Rhys bet on her winning. So anyways, to end the trial,
Lucien didn't, by the way, which means Lucien didn't bet on her winning. I had this thought. Rhys is the only one.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Awful. Yeah. So anyway, she sets the trap for the Middengard Wyrm using these lances, and Lucien saves her. She kind of runs around, traps the Middengard Wyrm on these bone lances, and the Middengard Wyrm is then dead. She wins the trial. She throws a bone at Amarantha's feet, and that kind of caps the trial. It was a great one. Other reactions from your side? I have a couple more things, but they're more just anecdotal.
I had a couple thoughts on this one. So the first sentence of this whole series has the word labyrinth in it. So it's the forest had become a labyrinth. We were always going to get a labyrinth, guys. It was always leading towards a labyrinth. I love it. It
was fated.
It was fated. It was so great. I thought this trial was really interesting and really funny because it's like there's a moment where Feyre calls Amarantha a huntress, right? And clearly, as you mentioned, this trial was designed to test Feyre's ability to hunt. But the way that Feyre refers to Amarantha as a huntress seems very different. It's more like she's hunting for prizes rather
Hmm.
than she's hunting for survival. So the context is she finds out how Amarantha has killed Jurian and that she's keeping his eye in a ring and she's keeping his finger on a necklace. So she says, I shuddered, a huntress. She was little more than an immortal, cruel huntress collecting trophies from her kills and conquests to gloat over through the ages, right? So we kind of have this parallel between Feyre and Amarantha where they're both hunters, but the way that they hunt is very different, right? So like I kind of imagine when Amarantha was designing this trial, what Amarantha did to Jurian was face him head on in battle, kill him or capture him and then torture him for days, right? Obviously, if Feyre had done that with the Wyrm, she wouldn't have walked away, right? The Wyrm will always overpower her, but instead she had to kind of like set a trap, wait for it, which we see Feyre do twice in Thorns and Roses with the Suriel and also when she catches Tamlin in that snare. So it's like pulling on her skills as a hunter instead of hunting the way we think Amarantha hunts to win this trial.
Yeah.
And I like that because it seems like Amarantha designed the next trial to kind of test her intelligence. But what we're really seeing here, and you mentioned the moment where she's tracking the crowd to see where the Wyrm is, like this is the trial where Feyre's intelligence is really like coming to the forefront. Like she really beats the Wyrm with
Yeah.
her smarts, not with any type of brute strength or anything.
Yeah. Feyre's form of intelligence. Like, unfortunately, the second trial's test of intelligence is not the form of intelligence that Feyre possesses.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
it's not her thing.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, I also like I wrote in my notes, like, this is kind of like I know people talk about the butterfly effect with this book, like, oh, what if Feyre's family hadn't been starving? She never would have killed Andros. None of this would have happened. Yes, but also, like, if Feyre had never learned how to hunt, obviously, she wouldn't have survived this, right? And obviously, this is an author who has control over all of these things, but it's like kind of something good coming out of something bad. And then, what's the other thing I have? I mean, this is kind of gross, but I kind of have like a rebirth moment here where she squeezes between the walls of the maze
Mm-hmm.
and like comes out the other side. Like that's when she starts not panicking. She's like acting smart. She realizes the Wyrm must be blind. Like she goes through the walls of this maze, comes out the other side, and that's when she starts to kind of like formulate a plan. So I
Yeah.
feel like that's her turning point under the
Yeah.
mountain here is when she kind of realizes, okay, I can do this. I'm in control. I have one funny note, but do you want to say anything else?
This trial was Feyre's cup of tea, is the way I would describe it. Other things that I really liked about it, we already talked about how Rhys kind of has humanized her already. He also bet on her winning, as we mentioned, and he, after this trial, healed her after the fact. So the part that I didn't mention, right, is that while she's trapping the Wyrm, she gets this like bone shard digging into her arm that she then doesn't get healed, has to live with, gets infected, almost dies. And this leads Rhys to come heal her and also strike a bargain that resulted in him being able to save her later. Like that bargain and that healing and Rhys betting on her, I think is like he is the only person in this whole situation at this point that genuinely believes and works to convince Feyre that she will live through this. Like everybody else is kind of just like wait and see, hold your breath, like I don't really know if this girl's going to figure this out. He has been betting on her since the very beginning, which I loved. I also
It's
think he might have helped
interesting.
design this trial.
Right. I had the same thought because she specifically says, Rhysand told me you were a
Yeah.
huntress or you were a hunter, which I don't remember how Rhysand knows. I mean, I know he sees her dreams where she's hunting, but like, does Feyre actually ever tell him that she's a hunter?
I don't
No.
think so. No.
So it's because he sees her dreams. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think Rhys may have helped design this trial and had it play to Feyre's strengths if she was smart enough to figure it out. He doesn't
Yeah.
tell us that though. Like that would have
Yeah.
come out in chapter 54. But
Yeah. There were also other living things in that maze when she was in there, which we never saw, but I think is interesting that we never saw, right? So the fairies who were watching the Wyrm were giggling, and Feyre says, I could only assume they'd grown bored of me and decided to watch something else die. So, like, what else was in that maze?
that's intriguing.
I don't
I
know.
thought it was just because they like fed it an arm or something, right? They're
Yeah,
like,
I don't know.
yeah, yeah. All right. I had one funny note.
Okay.
At one point, Amarantha says Feyre, I heard Amarantha's distant call. You're ruining everyone's fun. She said it as if I was a lousy shuttlecock. Which the idea of
Yeah.
there being shuttlecock in this world made me lol.
Yeah.
That was like a pretty ridiculous line. I don't think shuttlecock exists in this world, but I guess it does. I guess it's canon.
Yeah, it was written, and so it is. I
It
do
was
think it was a
written.
nice way to visualize just how callous Amarantha is. Basically talking to her like, I don't know, let's choose a more normal game, like a cornhole partner, like, oh, Feyre,
Yeah.
you're ruining it. She's like
Yeah.
dying.
Well, she's
Or, well,
living. That's why she's ruining it,
oh
because
yeah,
she's
yeah,
surviving.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then so this is the trial you mentioned that ends with Feyre throwing the bone spear at Amarantha's feet, and that is the moment that Rhys says he fell in love with her. He knew they were mates, but that's when he fell in love with her, which I think is sweet.
Yeah. It also, this isn't a spoiler, but the people who listen to us for the Empyrean will maybe laugh at this. I thought of Auric in this moment. I was like, Auric, remember?
Why?
He
Because he
throws,
throws the axe?
yeah, at,
Theory.
yeah.
Intriguing.
I mean, it's a classic show of defiance. Just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw it at your feet, but know that I could have thrown it at you if I wanted to.
Yeah, why didn't she just throw it at her? I
I'm
feel
sure
like
it would have been
she
blocked.
was trying. I don't know. Yeah.
I don't think she was.
I don't know.
Okay, tell us about Feyre's second trial.
All right. Context is important. All right. So Feyre is placed in a pit that is surrounded on 3 sides by smooth walls, so she can't climb up. The other side of this pit is a grate through which she can see that Lucien is chained to the floor. She also sees that on one of the walls there is a riddle written with levers underneath it that say 1, 2, and 3. And as she's figuring this out, there's a plate lined, she doesn't really get into it, but lined with hot metal spikes that slowly start descending on them. So basically, the gist is Feyre has to figure out the answer to this riddle before she gets impaled on her and Lucien get impaled on a burning hot spike. So my first note on this is where Amarantha, I think, thinks she's testing Feyre's intelligence. She seems weirdly hung up on Feyre's kind of ability to read from the get-go and like ability to use words. So Amarantha mentioned that the Fae taught humans to read and write poetry, and she's disappointed in Feyre's word choice when she's like, oh, why should I do this for you? And she's like, I love him. And like Amarantha's kind of like, oh, that's all you have to say? Like, that's not very poetic. And that's when she throws the riddle in, whose answer is love, to like test Feyre's intelligence. So it's kind of weird to me that we have 2 trials with riddles that are basically both designed
Yeah.
to test Feyre's ability to solve a riddle. Like, that just is kind of weird. We also have Lucien's eye spinning out of control, right? So Feyre says that she looks at Lucien and his eye is spinning out of control. Feyre thinks that Amarantha doesn't know that she can't read, but I'm betting that she does, which I realize is just total retcon because Amarantha is dead. We're never going to get confirmation. But like, why would she set Lucien's eye spinning so that he can't read the wall, right? He can't see what the riddle is unless she knew that Feyre couldn't read and she didn't want Lucien to be able to like see
Tell
the
her,
riddle and
yeah,
read
what
it
the
to
riddle
her,
was. Yeah.
right? So like that doesn't make sense. We also know that Amarantha like did her homework with the first trial and found out that Feyre was a hunter. Like Tamlin knows that that Feyre can't read, right?
Yeah.
So like Amarantha could have in theory gotten that information either using Rhys, which obviously would be terrible, or like just torture it out of Tamlin or something. Like it's not 100% a secret that Feyre can't read, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thinking, that she might have like always known Feyre couldn't read. This was always meant to be a death trap and not really a trial, which also means that she had to have known that Feyre cheated somehow or that it was just dumb luck, right?
Yeah. And yeah, I agree with you. I think to me, it's like surprising if she doesn't realize that Feyre can't read because she doesn't say the riddle. No one talks about the riddle. No one talks about the answer. Like she just is silent and chooses a number, right? Other confusing things about this trial to me, I find it really interesting and odd that Rhys, like we're led to believe, right, that Rhys makes her hand burn when she reaches for the wrong answer. He speaks into her mind right after this.
Why
Why
wouldn't he just
didn't
tell
he
her the
just
fucking riddle?
why didn't he just speak into her mind? Like why did her hand need to burn? It arguably would have been cleaner and more believable if he was just talking to her. And it's not like he was unwilling to reveal that about himself, because he did it literally directly afterwards when she was falling apart. Hopefully
I
it
don't know.
was Rhys that made her hand burn. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, why did that happen? That doesn't really make any sense.
Kind of
Also,
sloppy.
the High Lord of Autumn Court and his lady were both not present,
Right.
but their son was on the chopping block, or the Lady of the Autumn Court's son was on the chopping block. Why weren't they? Were
Why have
they
Lucien be
made
part
to
of
not
this
be
at
there?
all?
Well, because he had saved her in the last trial. So I think
Yeah.
Amarantha like acknowledged that they meant something to each other and was like, all right, we'll shove him in there.
Yeah.
That's my like
Sure.
easy answer.
Yeah.
And like that's the only person that has revealed themselves to care about Feyre that wasn't Tamlin, and she wasn't willing to give up Tamlin. She would never actually kill Tamlin.
This trial would have been just as high stakes if there was no one in the pit with Feyre, right? Like, it's not like she was like, oh shit, I have to save Lucien. She's like, shit, I'm gonna be spiked. Like, it's not really about saving Lucien for her.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe these trials were really just to torture Tamlin.
Great point. Great fucking point.
Which, like,
Yeah.
that is the ultimate torture. Both his best friend and the woman he's in love with.
If only he
dying.
had taught her how to read.
Yeah. I can't even. Yeah.
Actually, I think that's a great point with this one. That this is just like showing Tamlin his own failures. Like, if you really loved her, you would have taught her how to read. Rhys teaches her how to read immediately.
Yeah.
Right?
He's like, we're doing this. I'm
Yeah.
sure he actually clocked it as it was happening. Like, when I get this
Absolutely.
bitch out of this, she is learning how to read stat.
This is
Yeah.
a fucking problem. Right.
Yeah. But all of
Yeah.
these, I mean, yeah, I guess you could choose that as a theme. Like, all of these could have destroyed Tamlin inside if gone poorly. So maybe this one was just an extra. They threw Lucien in there for an extra oomph.
Yeah.
I also think it could have been a test for if Amarantha did know, to your point, if Amarantha did know that Feyre couldn't read, then maybe this is a test to see who's helping her. But that doesn't really play out, right? 'Cause she dies and she doesn't really do anything about anybody else in that room.
Rhys says that Amarantha realized that Rhys was kind of helping her when he found her in the room when Amarantha found them making out, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Not after this trial.
Not after this trial. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it could have been written a little bit better.
Yeah. This one was tough. And like we never found it. Like all we have is 3 grasshoppers bouncing. And I couldn't find anything on the internet about 3 grasshoppers bouncing. So like maybe it was a math problem. I don't know.
That's the closest I found that people think it's a math problem because the answer would be 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also think it's cute. It's so dumb that Feyre thinks the answer is 2, but that the answer is 3 because we're actually kind of getting a love triangle, I think is nice too.
Yeah. My God. That's like one of Feyre's toughest moments is like 2 makes sense. Tamlin and I are just 2 people. Girl.
You dumb, dumb, dumb girl. But I guess she's panicking and it's in the moment and you're like, I have to choose something. Gotta choose something.
Yeah.
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 I don't have much to say about this one except that it's fun that she cheats. It's fun.
Yeah. And it was like a nice moment afterwards where she started to like fall apart and you kind of got more of Rhysand's true colors where he's like, nope, pick it up. Don't let her know that she won. Wait till you get back to your cell.
I know. I
then
think
she
he
cries.
actually controls her body in this one, which I don't really love. Like she says she's like being picked up, not
Yeah.
entirely of her own volition.
Yeah. But I view it as like he's picking her up, not he's like controlling her
Not
limbs.
he's like marionetting
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've never seen Rhys use that power again, right? We've never seen him like bodily control someone, as far as we know.
Yeah. No. Would be crazy if it weren't Rhys, but I think it is. So
No, it's definitely Rhys.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely Rhys. I have one other thing. Amarantha calls Feyre darling in this trial, which I fucking hate.
Horrible.
I hate it. Like,
Horrible.
that, you get those words out of your mouth.
Yeah. Hate that.
Hate that.
I hate that.
All right. Third trial. You want to chat
Third
about it?
trial. Okay. So this trial, in my opinion, tested whether Feyre was willing to kill for Tamlin. Basically, whether she's willing to literally destroy her soul for him. And the thing I liked about this trial, I don't think it was intended this way necessarily, but the thing I liked about it is that it would have been easy if she had truly held hate in her heart for the Fae. Like if she were still human, brainwashed, all Fae are evil, just kill him, then this would have just been like, all right, let's just 1, 2, well, not the third, covered off the first 2, and that is easy, but she didn't actually hold hate in her heart. She had come to view these Fae just as humanely as she viewed kind of her fellow humans. And this was, in my opinion, another show of her actual intelligence in the way that Feyre is intelligent, where she was clever enough to remember, wait a second, Alys told me something. Wait a second, I was allowed to eavesdrop. Wait a second, Tamlin has a heart of stone. But I also ultimately just think that this to me solidified that these trials were not for Feyre to prove her love. They weren't against Tamlin. This was just Amarantha being really cruel, because the way that she probably saw this whole thing ending was Feyre sees that it's Tamlin, refuses, dies. And that is the ultimate, like, chooses to die instead of stab Tamlin. And so that is the ultimate, like, breaking of Tamlin and the hopes of all of those Fae in that moment. And Feyre even points this out. She points out, like, the craziness of it. Kill a fairy, fall in love with a fairy, and then be forced to kill a fairy to keep that love. Like, that was a really nice way of summarizing this whole trial. So to recap the trial, she first of all, she knew that the third trial would kill her before it started.
Yeah.
And she wasn't wrong.
And it does.
And it does. She was given her original clothes, her tunic and pants that she came in. And so Amarantha, again, this is just like cruelty. Like, she wanted her to feel the most like herself in this moment when she was forced to take these lives. And at first thought, when Feyre is presented with the trial, which is to stab these 3 Fae in the heart with ash arrows and end their lives, she was
Ash
like,
daggers.
I can't do it. Ash daggers, yeah, sorry. Ash daggers and end their lives. She was like, I can't do it. It would murder my soul. So the first victim, she kind of gets a couple different flavors of this, right? I think intentionally. The first victim was this like handsome, blue-eyed, high Fae youth, and he pleaded with her and asked her not to and hated her as she did it. Her hand also tingled with like a do it. And so we think that Rhysand was maybe gently pushing her to do this, which is also awful. And I kind of wish, this is just my like emotional reaction, I kind of wish like if he was going to do that, just like do it instead of her so that she doesn't have to live with this guilt. Like,
Here's
I
my
don't know.
thing. Here's my thing. We know Rhys went into Claire's mind as she was dying and
Yeah.
like took her away from that place.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Rhys do it to these Fae?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Feyre has to kill though. I think we're all in acceptance of that. Why doesn't Rhys take it away? And
Yeah.
he could still make them be saying what they're saying, right? But like
Yeah.
he never says in chapter 54, it went into their minds, it was okay. You know, like
Yeah.
not that it was okay, but like I took away their pain.
Yeah.
Why doesn't he do that?
Yeah, I don't know. And by the way, like, we're ignoring the theory, which I think is a good one, that Tamlin is also Daemati, but if he is, awful. Like, you could have been doing so much this whole time. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Yeah. So he lightly interferes, but he doesn't take the burden off of her or the burden off of them, which I found sad. Of course, like that could have happened. We know that he told Claire when to scream, like, but to your point, like he never says so in chapter 54 or to Feyre at any point, and you would think that he would, given he knows how much this like traumatized her and broke her.
Yeah.
The second victim was a simple girl with gold brown hair and bronze eyes. She was different, right? She kind of was saying her final right. She seemed to tell Feyre, like, it's okay, just do it quickly, just make it end. She was kind of determined, and Feyre found this worse than the male who was pleading. And then the third, of course, was Tamlin. And the Tamlin standing beside Amarantha transformed into the Adder. I don't think we had seen anyone else transform or glamour at this point besides Rhysand. And so you said that you thought this was Amarantha who had transformed the Adder into Tamlin and flipped him back. I don't know. Like, I think Tamlin must have had to have shifted the Adder into looking like himself. I don't think anybody else has that power. I think it had to be Tamlin. And it's not unbelievable that it's Tamlin. If she forced him to do it, then it was done. But I think it could have been Tamlin.
Well, I actually thought you were going to say it was Rhys.
No, I think it was Tamlin.
But couldn't have also been Rhys?
I mean, in theory, yeah. Like she had no mental shields at this point. So he could have made her see anything that he wanted, but he goes pale when this happens, right? He's described as, no, Rhysand goes pale. Rhysand is so pale when this happens. Like, she looks over at him and he's like shocked that this occurred. And so I don't think it could have been Rhys.
No.
So I think it was Tamlin. And I think Tamlin could have been forced to transfigure, if you will, to shift the Adder into himself. And I have more to say on that later.
There's this whole thread that, and we haven't gotten a Tamlin POV, so we don't know. But there is this whole thread, this whole idea that Tamlin is actually being like tortured the way that Feyre kind of is too. Because if Amarantha did know that Feyre couldn't read in the second trial. How did she find that out? How did she get that information out of Tamlin, right?
Yeah.
Tamlin's the only one who knows at this point.
Yeah.
And yeah, if he's forced to turn the adder into himself, like what is she doing to him to force that?
Right.
Is it just threatening to kill Feyre? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't do this, I'll kill Feyre.
Right.
Yeah.
So then the third victim is Tamlin. Obviously, Feyre then freaks out, but she thinks surprisingly clearly compared to what we've seen in other trials, and remembers that Alys told her that there was one part of the curse that she didn't know yet, and realized she actually attributes this all to Tamlin, which I think is potentially overcrediting him. But she's like, he made sure that I was there to eavesdrop and found this loophole where they could talk about the curse, like, in some terms, right, where she wasn't there, and they weren't telling her about it, they were talking to each other, and she was allowed to eavesdrop. So there are 2 points where it's revealed, right, and Feyre can overhear it, that Tamlin has a heart of stone. Lucien says, for someone with a heart of stone, yours is certainly soft these days, and then the adder also says, though you have a heart of stone, Tamlin, you certainly keep a host of fear inside it. So she realizes in this, like, I'm picturing a video montage moment in when this eventually makes it into film. Like, oh my gosh, Tamlin has a heart of stone. If I stab him, it will not kill him. And Tamlin kind of affirms this in his eyes, right? He realizes that she realizes. He's looking at her. He's like bright, defiant eyes. And he's like, yes. So she stabs him in the heart. He's smiling as she does it very faintly. And then the dagger's tip is damaged by his heart of stone. She pulls it out and he kind of starts to heal. And so then all hell breaks loose, right? Because Amarantha says she didn't specify when she would free them. She starts to kill Feyre. Everything else ensues. Rhys reveals himself as a traitor and trying to kill her. And Tamlin finally begs for her life after all of this time. Amarantha calls Feyre a vile beast. And Feyre says the answer to her riddle, finally, which is love. And then
Which is
Amarantha,
love.
which is love, right as Amarantha snaps her neck.
Yeah. Can I tell you something fucking hilarious that I found?
Sure. Yeah.
In Mist and Fury, chapter 16, Feyre is talking about Jurian. And she says, resurrecting the dead. She finds out the King of Hyra's plan is to resurrect Jurian. She goes, resurrecting the dead. What sort of unholy power? Like, she herself is not resurrected from the dead. Feyre, you fucking dummy. I love you, but come on.
Yeah. And also, wait, when did she? Oh, it was Mist and Fury. So it was pre-Rhys resurrection, but post her own resurrection.
Yeah. I'm like, hello.
You. Happened to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a couple notes.
Go for
I
it.
don't really have notes on anything. I did have one note on what you said. In a way, this trial is also solving a riddle, right? Like, she has to put all the pieces together, and she finally does. She finally does solve the riddle, which is good for her. There is a moment where Amarantha references Miriam. She talks about someone else being made. She doesn't say Miriam. We have to put this together later on the fact. The quote is, imagine all those years you were going to spend together suddenly alone. Tragic, really. Though a few months ago you hated our kind enough to butcher us, surely you'll move on easily enough. She patted her ring. Jurian's human lover did. Right? So we're talking about Miriam here. We're talking about Miriam and Dracon.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the only other person at this point in time who has been made into an immortal being. Right?
Yeah.
And Tamlin's eyes, it says still on his knees, Tamlin's eyes turned so bright, defiant. And I'm wondering if in that moment he remembered that Miriam was made, basically, right? If like, because him and Rhys were friends, so maybe he knew. It's kind of a little small detail. It might not matter, but the fact that his eyes turned defiant there, like, I feel like there's a backstory there where Tamlin knows what's going on with Miriam and Dracon, and he's like, maybe I can get Feyre to be immortal with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that.
Which would be interesting. I also had a note that I'm definitely leaning towards your theory that Tamlin kind of orchestrated this whole thing, because Feyre has a quote, there was such a thing as fate because fate had made sure that I was there to eavesdrop when they'd spoken in private, because fate had whispered to Tamlin that the cold, contrary girl he dragged to his home would be the one to break his spell, because fate had kept me alive just to get to this point, just to see if I had been listening. Tamlin did that.
Fate or Tamlin with a little help from the Surreal. I don't know.
Yeah. Like, we know Tamlin orchestrated, well, I know you just said we give him too much credit, but like, he did basically orchestrate her overhearing these things, right? So
yeah,
if he did that, did he not also do all these other things that she's attributing to fate?
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about here, I referenced Theseus at the beginning of
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
at the beginning of this episode. So the other thing that's, I mean, maybe more than one thing. The other thing I know Theseus for is the ship of Theseus, right? So that is
Hmm.
the ship that, and the idea is they rebuild the ship slowly. So they take every piece of the ship off and then they replace it with a new piece of wood, right? And it's like, at what point is it not the original ship anymore? At what point is it, if you replace every single piece of it, at what point are you an entirely new thing, not the thing that you were originally? And I thought this was really an interesting idea in relation to Feyre, right? Like, she's human, and then obviously at the end of this, she becomes Fae. Is she still, we know she still has her human heart, and like, I don't know that we'll get a resolution to this question, or maybe we already have because we kind of have the close of her story, but like, how much of her is still Feyre? And it applies to Nesta and Elaine too, right? Like, if you are
Yeah.
remade, I feel like it's a question we're constantly wrestling with this in this book. How much of you is still you if every part of you is something new now, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So a
And it's
nice tie
interesting too,
into the
right? Because
lads.
her being made marks her change. Pre her dying, she was in love with Tamlin. Post her dying and coming
I
back
mean, a lot of
as
other
Fae.
things happen, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to do my precog theory before we get to our next question because it doesn't have any spoilers outside of ACOTAR and it's related to this. So we talked about Tamlin shifting, or the adder shifting. The Tamlin next to Amarantha shifted into the adder as the Tamlin kneeling in front of Feyre
Was revealed.
was
Yeah.
revealed. And so we know that Tamlin is the real Tamlin, right? Because he has a heart of stone. Um and doesn't die when Feyre stabs him. And so what you said about Tamlin being tortured, right? What really struck me about this part is that Tamlin's eyes were wholly different when the bag was taken off his head, basically. His eyes are sorrowful, his eyes turn defiant, he shows expression. And so it got me thinking, like, was it really Tamlin who was standing beside Amarantha the entire time? Or was Tamlin captive elsewhere, forced to shift other people to look like him? The only time that we get like his scent, like confirmation of like the scent of grass and rain that's associated with Tamlin, is at the party when he pulls her into a closet and kisses her. So also like a break in that
Pattern.
facade.
Yeah.
And so I know we hate Tamlin, and I know we we have been saying like he's expressionless and he doesn't help and he's terrible, and like if this is all true, then if he is actually standing next to Amarantha, then all of that is true, and I just don't understand how he did any of that, especially how he like begged for Lucien's life multiple times throughout the trials, but never once Feyre's. But what if he just wasn't?
But remember, Feyre asked Lucien, like, what kind of spell is Tamlin
Yeah, and
under?
he
And he
says no
says he's
spell.
not. And like, it's a
Lucien would
question.
know. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Lucien can see glamours, but can he see full shifts? There's a difference, right? I think there's a
Yeah.
difference. Yeah.
So I don't know. Could be something, could be nothing, but like suddenly his eyes are not blank.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah. It's curious. And like we said, with Tamlin, like, we haven't gotten his story yet. So like, yes, this happened in book 1. Yes, this is assumed an open and shut chapter, but like, we know we're getting some kind of Tamlin redemption arc. So like, really everything is on the table.
Yeah. And we have never been inside his head.
We've never been inside his head. Yeah. I don't think there's anything else I had to say really about these books, about these. I have many things to say about these books, but about the trials. I mean, the one thing we haven't touched on, right, is that all of this is stemming from Amarantha's hatred of Jurian.
Yeah.
I don't know that matters, but I think it's an interesting thing to keep in mind that she assumes that Feyre is going to not love Tamlin because Jurian didn't truly love Clythia. And like, all of this is because of one stupid man doing stupid things, basically.
Yeah.
I guess is my point.
Yeah. That's fair. Yep. And I wonder how much of that Jurian like harbors after he comes back. I also think it is interesting that Amarantha calls Feyre a vile beast. Like, yes, it might just be, like human racism, but she also is a beast
Yeah, I mean, once she turns Fae, we find
once
out
she turns
in the
Fae.
Ouroboros.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this kind of gets back to the bone carver thing that I was telling you about, because
Yeah.
this is the scene where the bone carver says no one remembers her name, right? This is the scene
Yeah.
where he tasks Feyre with retrieving the Ouroboros. So if Amarantha recognizes Feyre's name, does she also recognize like what she is potentially?
Yeah. And I mean, A task per full moon, like that's wolfy.
Let's chat about that later. It is
Yeah, but
wolfy.
even in this context, right? Like,
And Feyre always calls herself a wolf.
yeah, lots of wolf imagery in this series. So, okay.
All right, Maasverse time. If you haven't read Crescent City or Throne of Glass, bye. We love you. Goodbye.
Love you.
And you should, because the theories are juicy. The theories are juicy.
I find this question hilarious in the way that you worded it. Abby, was this Feyre's ordeal?
Okay, I have to genuinely tell you, I forgot about the quote that I'm pretty sure you're referencing. Like, I did not know that this quote existed. But the answer is hardcore yes, because there is a quote in Crescent City, which I completely forgot existed, talking about ordeals. And for context, if you don't remember Crescent City, all of the Fae in Crescent City go through an ordeal, and all of them have to see the Oracle in order to become, it's like their rite of passage to become an adult Fae. So I asked, was this Feyre's ordeal? Kind of just for fun. I forgot about this quote, but from Crescent City, all Fae, male and female, made a visit to the city oracle at age 13 as one of the two great rites to enter adulthood. First, the oracle, and then the ordeal a few years or decades later. The ordeal itself varied depending on the person. For some, it might be as simple as overcoming an illness or a bit of personal strife. For others, it might be slaying a Wyrm or a demon. The greater the Fae, the greater the ordeal. I did not know that quote existed when I asked this question, so I apologize for the leading question, but like pretty hardcore confirmation here. This is Feyre's ordeal, which gets back to the idea that there is a Fae bloodline in the Archerons, right? Like no matter what, they were always going to become, like they always had to go through this ordeal, even though they seem to be human.
Mhm.
I mentioned before that this is also when Rhys falls in love with her, right? Is this first trial when she throws the bone at Amarantha. But like, I think it's also an interesting idea that if this is her ordeal, she is becoming a Fae woman, basically, even though she's not yet. Like, she's kind of becoming a Fae woman in this ordeal. And then Rhys is like, I love you. Like, yeah, we were mated, but like, this is when I love you, when you kind of become fully Fae. She
We're given
also,
so much other foreshadowing, by the way. Like this could have belonged in the prior section, but like there is a point where Lucien says she looks positively Fae, and she is fully human at that point.
yeah. Feyre also clearly visits the Oracle, right? Because she sees the serial. So we're getting that ordeal and Oracle imagery. I think it only matters because it speaks to the Archerons being Fae. And it speaks to the idea that kind of all of them will go through this. Nesta certainly goes through ordeals, and we can talk about if she sees the Oracle or not. But that's kind of why it's interesting to me.
Yeah, I think there's plenty of parallels that point to this, right? I think the only thing, so before I tack on, I think that Crescent City was published 5 years after A Court of Thorns and Roses. While I think that Sarah J. Maas had the idea of an ordeal kind of mirroring a Fae's power, I think that totally existed. I'm not sure her trials were fully based off like the Crescent City
Certainly.
ordeal because
Certainly.
it didn't exist yet. But
Right.
I mean, Bryce's swimming back from her ordeal was certainly similar to Feyre swimming back, and Rhys was her anchor in this ordeal. He was her anchor. Um, and if this is the case, as you mentioned, I think it's possible that Faye already had immortal heritage, which we'll talk about later. I think you can draw this parallel, even though Crescent City was written way later, to Throne of Glass as well. Like Aelin also has a drop after being captured by Maeve, which she freed herself from, which resulted in her actually losing power, but it also happened pre her kind of settling into her immortality. So I think this like concept of an ordeal is something that whether consciously or unconsciously Sarah J. Maas has woven into all of her great heroines, and I think it makes sense for this to have been Feyre. Aelin being captured by Maeve could have also been Aelin's ordeal.
Yeah, and Nesta has 3 trials too, right? She has the mask, the harp, and the crown. Those are her 3 trials, or those her ordeal. I actually think there's a more clear Nesta moment with the drop where Cassian is her anchor. We can get more into that in the Nesta episode.
Yeah,
But yeah, Archerons, always going to be Fae, we think.
I won't limit myself to that.
Sure, they might be witches too.
Yeah, they might be witches too.
They might be witches too.
But
They could be
the
more
good
than one
news
thing.
is we've got several mixed bloodlines to discuss between Fae, witches, other stuff,
Other
shifters.
stuff. Shifters.
There's plenty to go around.
Myr. I don't think anyone's a Myr, but
I don't think
who
I don't
knows?
think we got a Myr. Maybe Nesta. She
I
goes
don't
into the
think so.
water.
You're right. One time she swims.
All right.
All right. The Precog Corner.
Precog Corner.
Precog
Your
Corner.
precog.
All right. You already did your precog? Yeah. All right. So we talked about how all of these trials are on the full moon. So I was thinking about this. I was like, this is weird. There's this full moon. We later get the full moon like imagery with Feyre with her tattoo. I want to go back to that idea of the forgotten gods that we talked about in the last episode too, right? We're told there are long forgotten gods in Printheon. We talked about how the gods in Throne of Glass are actually just beings from another world who got trapped. Diana in Throne of Glass, she is a goddess, and her symbols are hunting, which Amarantha is described as a huntress, and the moon. Amarantha sets all of Feyre's trials on the full moon. My Precog Corner theory is that Amarantha, I don't think she's Deanna. I want to be clear about that. I do not think
I
she's
was going to
Deanna.
be upset with you if you
I
did.
do not think she's Deanna. I think maybe at one point she was a priestess of Deanna, or perhaps possessed by Deanna, the way that Aelin is possessed by Deanna in Throne of Glass. Because we know that I never got Ianthe gets her power from the sun, right? In theory. We don't really know what her power is, but she at least seems to think that she gets her power from the sun. I'm thinking if Amarantha is setting these trials on the full moon, that's also maybe when she's at her fullest power. So she might be getting kind of a power up if she's getting power from Deanna by being a priestess. Deanna also not good, not a good goddess. She is fucking evil. She sucks. So it would kind of make sense for Amarantha to be her priestess. She's Amarantha, or Deanna is described as a spider who's been hunting Aelin her whole life. You pointed out that Amarantha is described as having pincers, right? So that's some more imagery. Deanna also hated humans and had absolutely no regard for human life, which is kind of Amarantha's like whole fucking thing, how much she hates humans. So lots of parallels between these characters. I do not think Amarantha is Deanna, to be clear. I don't think she's that important, but I think maybe there's a connection.
Yeah, her being like an agent of Deanna. Yeah, I like that. Amarantha is just like, it's helpful to think of her as multidimensional because one-dimensional, like she's just kind of boring, honestly. And she's dead, so maybe it's okay that she's boring, but
villains in this series are not great. Like when
so
you compare
far.
them to Maeve, who I thought was a very good villain.
Yeah. Yeah, because Maeve was a good villain because we learned enough about her that we could like understand her. Whereas with Amarantha, I feel like she tried with like the whole, Tamlin's father being friend, but it wasn't like well explained. And maybe that was intentional.
Well, the other thing I like about Maeve is that you don't know she's the villain. It's like she has a plan.
Right. Yeah.
Right? She's outsmarting people.
You don't like her to begin with, but you don't know that she's the big bad. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't realize that it's her unless you are smarter than I am. But we don't have an equivalent. Well, we don't know, but we don't seem to have an equivalent of that in ACOTAR. And I think it'd be fun if we did. I think it'd be fun if we had more complex villains. And I'm not talking about Tamlin, to be clear. Yeah.
It seems like ACOTAR is shaping up to be more of a realm-based plot line.
Rather than a final boss-based plot line.
Yeah, conqueror-based plot line. Because like Throne of Glass was final boss. Crescent City had some final boss energy, but really it was realms. Like
we don't know.
Conquer species. Yeah, it's not done, but like that's how we've shaped up so far is like we need to free our lands from this conquering race.
Right.
It seems like ACOTAR is headed that way as well, potentially, if Koschei is making it.
I mean, I know this won't happen, but like how fun would it be if it turned out someone was a secret Asteri this whole time? Someone we knew. It's not Amren.
I don't think it's Amren.
Okay.
I mean, I think Amren was, but I think Amren has given up.
I don't think Amren was an Asteri, but we can talk about that when we talk about.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because this isn't really.
Are we about to go on a huge tangent?
No. I mean, like Sarah J. Maas, again, this was a long time ago, so I don't know what she was willing to say and wasn't willing to say, but Sarah J. Maas is basically called Amren biblical angel.
Yeah.
So the Asteri weren't out yet at that point. But yeah, it does make sense.
Yeah. We'll talk about it more. We got more episodes.
More to come.
All right, what are you reading?
A Court of Silver Flame. I feel like I had something else entertainment-wise to talk about. On my list, I haven't started it yet, but this is a low effort enough thing that I think I will sooner than I've promised that I'm starting other books. Work is crazy right now, guys. I'm working on it. I'm working through it. But Wednesday is back, and I'm
Fuck, I
so
love
excited.
Wednesday.
I haven't
That's
started it
great.
because I want it, and I want enough of it to come out that I could like actually catch up on a good amount of it in a weekend. But I love
Are they
Wednesday.
doing weekly releases?
I thought they were. Are they not?
I truly don't know. They could be. They could be.
Wednesday season 2. Oh, they did a half and half situation. So they released 4, and then they're releasing the next 4 the weekend after Labor Day or the week of Labor Day.
I did have a Romantasy serendipity that I wanted to put out into the universe.
Okay.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, the 1990s rom-com Serendipity starring Kate Beckinsale and I want to say that British guy whose name I don't remember. Oh no, it's John Cusack. It's John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale.
Okay. Haven't seen it.
I know that there is a Romantasy book out there exists that is called Quaint. It's like described as like comfort cottage core romantasy. It is about a woman who runs a bookstore. I don't think she's Fae or anything, but then like some kind of magical creature walks in and it's described as very comfy and cozy. I know that I could just Google this book and figure out what it is. However, I thought it would be fun if I just said it on this podcast and someone could tell me what the name of that book is. And if you tell me, I will read it. And if you don't, it's not meant to be. That's my thinking.
All right, if you're still here, tell Abby what this book is, because I certainly can't.
The sequel to it just came out too. Like it's in the zeitgeist at the moment. Yeah, but I don't remember what it's called. But I would like to read it. Okay. All right. We are on social media. We are Dragons in the Details Pod on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Our full episodes are on YouTube, by the way. We get DMs about that sometimes. You can watch our full episodes on YouTube.
Mhm.
We are also on Discord, Dragons in the Details Pod server. We will link to all of our social media in the show notes. And if you have questions, comments, concerns, not really concerns, questions, comments, theories, email us, dragonsandthedetailspod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. And we try to get back to you. We're kind of dropping the ball a little bit. We've both been really busy. We're sorry, but we will try to get back to you. We will do our best to do that. I think that's it. Thanks for listening. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.